I like to do this every Monday to talk about mental health issues, and just have a conversation about what it is to have mental health. I think a lot of times we get misunderstood when we talk about mental health and we start throwing out all these crazy sayings like, if they were good for you, they would change, and if they would do this, they would do that. Um, I love memes. I think memes are cute and quirky, but they do not solve the problem. I'll say this again. I think memes are cute and quirky, but they don't have answers. Meaning that you can have a meme that says something positive, and you can have a meme that says something negative. But there's factors, right? What are the factors? The factors are there's variables. What are the variables? Where a person comes from, how they were brought up, what happened to them, what's their experiences, what's their energy level, what's their education, how are they learning. When I always say education, I don't always mean scholastic. And if I meant scholastic, I would say something school or scholastic. Education is things that are taught to you. You can be taught a habit that is horrible for you from family members that's been around you. Your environment teaches you, right? Everybody knows this is nature versus nurture, but there are variables, right? There are variables of how a person develops. And if there's variables of how a person develops, then there's variables of understanding on certain phrases, right? Does that make sense? Good. Now, I want to show you something that when we talk about mental health, one of the things that doesn't often get talked about, and I know I have, is because I'm a neuroscience guy. But one of the things is it's all about construction of your thought process, construction of how you think, why you think. They're two different. The how you think and the why you think. Okay? There's chemistries, there's variables, there's things that are around you, inside of you, that's been altered that you had no idea how it got altered, but you're reacting on it. And so now, when it comes to words being said, we have heard stories about someone we like, dislike. We have heard stories about many things, and we immediately have an emotional response to it. We immediately have an emotional response to it because of how we are constructed. Now, if you have constructed your way into doing and believing and knowing why you do believe and say, that's perfect. This is not a discussion of who's right in their thinking and who's wrong in their thinking. I want people to understand that it affects people so differently about things that are said. Now, we do know, I'm going to share my screen with you. We do know what this event was. We do know what this event was, right? We know this is January 6th. We know I call it insurrection. It's horrific, right? It's problematic, right? I get it. But it's the words that President was speaking that incited the people to move. Good or bad, plus or minus, it incited people to move. And in their movement created this issue, nasty issue. And it caused harm for a nation, caused harm for people who were shot, caused harm for people who were killed, it caused harm for people who were arrested, it caused harm. Now, you saw that, right? It causes harm. When someone says something, Hitler did it, Mussolini did it, other Ferdinand did it. Everyone has done it to move people. Hell, Obama did it, right? So it doesn't matter what you believe your president is or isn't, what you believe a person you listen to is or isn't, they have words that move you because you want to be moved, directed, and guided, and so you turn that into your fact. Someone says, I saw your mate down at the corner. with someone else because you believe in the person that told you, it's automatically fact. It's automatic for you. It's fact. How do you know? It's because of how maybe you would ask the question. So what were you up to? What it's more of an interrogation. So it has a cause and effect on you. People who are in your lives, close or far, dear friends or far friends, dear people, whatever. People who in your lives has an effect on your life, and they have more effect on your life if they grew up with you and they develop part of your perception. It can cause harm. Understanding, when we talk about mental health, understanding the factors of how you are thinking. Why am I thinking this way? Even if I hear something I completely think is so true, it would have to take, an act of the sun falling for me to think it's a lie. But still, I assess my personal feelings and emotions of what I hear, see, and touch all my five senses. Because that's how things are directed into our being, is through our senses. And through our senses triggers chemistry in the brain. Those chemistry in the brain create synapses that formulates our truths and our myths. It formulates our truths and our myths. So I'm going to show you another picture here. Do you know who this person is? Do you? I don't think you do. Maybe some of you do. Yeah. He's a boy that was killed in North Dakota because a person believed he was a radical Republican. So he ran him over with his car. Let's say it again. A person believed that he was a radical Republican because of tweets he had had. And the tweets he had had. And the person that ran him over was just recently listening to the present president and how they wipe out all the radicals. This is what Joe Biden said. This is one of his national conference. And the person who listened to him, believed in him, incited him, and ran this young boy over with his car. Killed him. It killed him. He was only released on a $50,000 bond after running over a young boy because he believed that what the President Joe Biden said, and he killed this boy. You have January 6th, you have this boy being ran over in North Dakota, and you have other issues that are happening out here in the streets because of what someone is saying and how it's affecting you. This is the most disturbing thing ever. That's why I'm talking about here on Mental Health Mondays. We have always been prodded, and I mean stuck with verbal prods to go do something. Hell, I tried to do it. I tried to wake people up about sickle cell and donating blood and how it saves lives. I tried to prod you about understanding facts and understanding your feelings and emotions. I try to prod you on being a civil servant to humanity. I try to prod you on being self-efficient and protecting and to serve and to learn defense arts, right? Because there's dangers out here. I try to prod you on so many things about service. So I too try to prod you to try to get you into action. But I say two things first. I want to give you information. I want you to have an understanding of what I'm saying. And hopefully that brings you to an action. Because it's still a choice. But if you don't have the right information and understand the information, I'm not talking about how you feel about the information. I'm talking about how you understand it. And ask yourself, why do I understand it this way and not that way? Why are there other opinions and why is it my thoughts and opinions? Where do they get their information from? Is there other sources? It's like that for everything. Because if words are going to drive you into doing, then why not let the words of your president or someone you care talk you off a bridge. It's harder to talk someone off a bridge to safety than to talk them into jumping. It is easier to get someone to commit suicide than to stop. Think about it. It's true. It is hard to get someone to stop to commit suicide, but it's easy to push them to a level where they want to take their lives. People are playing around with your inability to understand of who you are and what you want to be, not what you would like to be, not what you could be, but what you want to be. And what you want to be has to be developed by you and then put together. I can think of a birdhouse. I can like a certain type of birdhouse. But if I don't plan it, figure out the type of what I want, how long I want it, how wide I want it, how many holes I want it, then if I just started building, the guess is as good as mine what the outcome's going to be. Well, with yourself, that's called cultivation. That's called development. And only you have a choice and a chance to cultivate and develop. There are other things out here that is trying to develop you and is trying to incite you. Just like this young boy who got killed by a person by getting ran over by a car because he believed what the president was saying. He understood it this way, just like January 6th. They understood it this way. Just like people in Hitler, they understood it this way. Mussolini, Obama, Abraham Lincoln, how they feel, who they are, and how they perceive in their perception. This takes a lot of practice to understand how to ask yourself these questions and to break it down because there's a chemistry in the brain that helps you do this. Otherwise, you keep reinforcing your same thought process that you're like, well, my mama did it, my aunt did it, my daddy did it, so this is what it must be done. So you just keep reinforcing the same ideology and the same principle, but you have no thought processing whatsoever. If you have no thought processing whatsoever on why and how and your reasons and development cultivation, then you're being driven by someone else's priorities and purpose. You're being driven by someone else's priority and purpose. And this is not how you want to live. So on Mental Health Mondays, understand when you hear things, even this, ask yourself, how do I feel about what Dr. Paul's talking about? How does this affect me? Does it affect me? Do I care? Do I give it? Understand your information. Because the problem with that is, if you don't understand your information, we always say history repeats itself. But actually, history's not repeating itself. You're just falling into the trap of being moved by a history you don't know. So it's not repeating, it's just going to keep recycling. Is that called repeating itself? No, that's how the machine works. If it's not broken, why would the machine get fixed? And the machine moves people, kills people, that is not developing, cultivating their personal self. They're basing their movements and actions off of emotions and driven by chaos. And the actions are harmful, hateful, and mean. They're harmful, hateful, and mean when you don't know why you're doing the actions you do. I hope this helps. This is a blessing for me. Be kind, be compassionate, be love, be joy, and share. Develop, cultivate, and train. These are my tips for you today on Mental Health Monday. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. I will see you again later in the week. Remember, you have You Be the Judge on Wednesday, and I also have live interviews that happens throughout the week. Check them out on my YouTube channel, Dr. Paul Dyer, Grandmaster, or you can also go to all these social media accounts where you see this now. All right. Thank you.